I was just sitting here thinking about my mirrors being met with um, uh, an energy like mine and being turned off by it. It's a female, and she's kind of in the space of having given up on the masculine, even though she's a quite a masculine energy herself, not in a brood type of way, but in a headstrong, career-driven, logical sort of way. She and I have similar placements. Well, she's a Leo sun, I'm a Leo moon. She's a Scorpio moon, I'm a Scorpio rising. Um, she's a Libra rising, I have Libra and Mercury and Venus. So we are similar in some ways and different in others. What I feel internally with my emotional self, she expresses on the surface, that's that Leo nature, that wanting to be loyal to someone, that Libra ascendant, wanting diplomatic relations and happenings with others, whether in business, love, friendship, or what have you. And that Scorpio intensity, just catapulting it all to extremity. It showed me. Okay? Now, the Virgo in me has pinpointed it, found the pattern, saw it through and through. And I can honestly say how instantaneous the connection was on a friendship level, or just a trying to get to know you level, us sharing synchronicities and having that kindred feeling. It made me back up. And now it better explains to me why our love relationships and interpersonal relationships can get very distant very fast, when it's like, if I don't do something, if I don't put a stop to this, or if I don't halt this for the moment, or if I don't do something, this can create a life of its own and take on a recklessness if I'm not careful. So it's as if somebody has to be the responsible one, because you can get swept up in the whimsy, swept up in the emotion, swept up in the intensity. And it, with her having similar placements to mine, it showed me how I may be perceived by others in the way that I perceived her. Not that something was wrong with her, but it was a neediness. It was a just wanting so badly to connect with someone on that intense level and have it mutual, have it shared. It's as if caution was thrown to the wind. It was a relay. It was like a volley back and forth, the conversation, and it could go on for hours if I'd let it. But I would, stop responding less and less. Stop responding more and more. Keep my answers short instead of, my usual paragraphs or explaining, going into things. And it was as if it's too much information too soon, or too much energy too soon. And the thing is, these connections are ones that are intended to last a lifetime. And most times when you feel the intensity of somebody who's kindred, somebody who's kismet and supposed to be in your life and supposed to be there, you forget about the longevity. If they're supposed to be there for a lifetime, you have a lifetime to share these things, these synchronicities, these moments, and to try your best to cram it all in the small amount of time you may interact in text messages or in seeing each other personally. Not only does it raise your vibration for the moment, but in excess, it can drain you. So an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours may feel like 30 minutes, and you lose track of time, which, to each their own on the time thing. I'm still, dealing with that. Time applies sometimes, but other times it doesn't for me. So time can just seem to fly by, but then other times it's like, oh my goodness, this is dragging. How much longer, can this person go on? They're going to keep going. They're getting a raise in vibration from it. They're getting fed in some shape, form, or fashion. And the other person starts to feel depleted. And it seems like, well, there's no reciprocity because I've fed the situation. I've given my energy to it, and they're not giving me the same in return, when really you're feeding off of it. You're taking it in. You are receiving. You don't understand how. So when it comes to people who are giving in excess and are on that giving end of information and energy and love and affection and things like that, they're still feeding off of something. There is a very, very fine line between narcissism and empathy, because in order to be one, you have to be the other. That's how you that's how you operate. In some cases, you are the empath and you're being fed off of, but then you can be that empath and feed off of someone that you deem a narcissist or someone who doesn't reciprocate. And a lot of times when a person feels that another person isn't reciprocating or they're not getting anything, they're getting something, but it's a narcissistic trait to accuse someone of being a narcissist. You can see the quote unquote negative, lower vibration or the evil in them because you feel it cruel that you're not being fed, that you're not getting the attention, that you're not getting what you're so willing to give, when really you're reaching out and you're communicating in order to receive. You have a specific goal in mind, a specific aim, and a specific agenda, and that doesn't make you empathic. What makes you empathic is that you can pick up on what it is that triggers that person to respond, that triggers that person to react and feed you more of what you do or don't want. A lot of times it's not going to be what you want because the intent behind it is not 100% on the up and up. And you have to be aware as you are of your empathy. You have to be aware that anything that you perceive another person is or is being is you, is a reflection of you, yourself, your own actions, your own thoughts. It's not necessarily them as a whole. They're there to be your mirror. So to see this female or even males in my environment that want to speak and engage in conversation and constantly, it's a tether. It's I hit, like I said, a volley. It's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Somebody's arm's going to get tired. Somebody wants to stop playing. The other person's still full of energy. You can see that in kids at the park. You can see that in childhood. You can see that in board games. We're playing Monopoly. Somebody's, being prosperous and they're getting all this, good feedback on their actions and their moods and their moves. And then somebody else is not getting the same benefit and they want to quit. They want to give up. It's too energy draining. Now it's psychologically damaging. It's like, oh gosh, I'm tired. And it comes out of, I don't want to play no more. All of a sudden, I'm no longer enjoying what this was supposed to have been, because only one person is feeling and enjoying what's happening. And the other person doesn't want to quit. They're in the highlight of their moment. They want to keep talking, or they want to keep playing, or they want to keep going. And it's There is a cap, there is a limit, and that's what these people are actually teaching those of us, or those in our environment who tend to give in excess. In excess, they actually have a larger capacity to receive. So therefore, they drain those who don't have much of a capacity to give or receive. A lot of times you're saying, oh, I've given this person so much. I've given them so much and they haven't given me anything. You're pouring a bucket into a cap full, and they're overflowing and they're overwhelmed. And of course, they can never fill you. They don't have the capacity. It would take them a whole lot longer. You're not evenly yoked. So it's about self-awareness, knowing what you do have to give, how much more you have to give than another. You have to gauge that first and foremost before you pour all of you or attempt to give your all. You have to know how much another can hold in order to know how much they're realistically able to give. And also, to know someone, to know that they're pure-hearted, to sense it, to feel it, to know it, to breathe it, that may be. But in this physical world, you have so many layers, and people call it masks and whatnot, but you have layers of trauma, past life, this life, things accumulated through action and consequence, the law of karma. It's just healing is what peels back those layers, not necessarily a person just stripping them off. That can cause detrimental damage for a person to be who they are with trauma and know that person, have grown into that person, and leaving it all behind and becoming themselves. They don't know. That transition is too drastic to wake up one day and just be yourself, because you don't know who you are without it. You've accumulated it over the years of your life. Stuff you learned at 2, 3, 4, 5. You started to develop habits and responses to certain things, and it was because of different traumas, different situations, different people in your environment, different exposures. So to say, hey, you don't have any of those fears and worries now, you can take all that stuff off. You don't know who you are without it. You've assimilated to this this lifestyle gradually by every experience you've had that was unfavorable. You've created another layer, put on another mask to change the way that you're perceived and the way that you interact. So to strip it all away at once is detrimental. It has to be done in layers, has to be done in a process. That's what our purging is for. That's what our cleansing is for. That's what our ascension is for. Layer by layer. Even those who reach a level of enlightenment still go back into hermit mode periodically, still get downloads and learn more fascinating things about themselves that they never realized. Things that were right in front of their face that could be obvious to others but not to themselves, because they have masked their own trauma, masked their own pain. And like I said, a lot of people do not know who they are without it. But that also goes with who people know you as, who you have been known to be up until this point, whether you were that well-rounded chick in high school, hung with everybody, or had a particular group of friends, or was into this type of fad, that type of fad, did this specific thing, dance team, cheerleading, music, band, art, whatever it was, you were known for that thing. And even as you get older and you start to shed certain behaviors, certain styles, certain things, you start to create who you are now, integrating who you were then, but leaving what's not necessary behind. So it's almost like a change of identity when people start to see who you are without the trauma, because you're learning to, shed that stuff and realize who you really are, what you really like, what you really enjoy, how you like to do things. You're developing a new personality and a new character who is more authentically you. It's as if people don't even know you. And they're like, whoa, what's this change in you? What's this new thing? Where did that come from? I thought you were, you know, I always thought you were shy, or I always thought you were this, or I always thought you were that. And it was, at one point, that's who you portrayed. It was just a projection. But now you're becoming more so yourself, and more authentic, and more intrinsically you. And it's as if people have to get to know you all over again. So they're like meeting you for the first time. And this is where you start to see in your relationships, in your family situations, in your love relationships, or even people from the past, if they do come back, they may be met with someone that they do not know. It's because they had never met this part of you, a part of you that you never revealed, that you never accepted, or you never grew into. Under all those layers, you almost forget what you look like. That's like a woman who wears makeup 23 hours out of the day, and for that 1 hour, she still doesn't see herself in the mirror. Somebody else does her makeup every single day. But that one day, she has to do it herself, and she takes off all that makeup. She almost cannot recognize herself. That's, when you see celebrities and they're all made up. When you see them without makeup, you're like, oh, gosh, she's got, acne scars and bags under her eyes, and wow, she looks exhausted. She looks tired. She looks this. She looks that. Or he, they put makeup on men, but, to see people out as regular people without all that glitz, without all that glamour, without the red carpet, you're like, oh my gosh, is that Halle Berry? Is that Mariah Carey? Is that so-and-so? Like, wow, I did not know they looked like that underneath all that shit on their face. And it's kind of that feeling. Like, this is who I am on a day-to-day basis. But when I put my best foot forward, best face forward for everybody else, this is what I have to do in order to look like that. And you don't know me without it. And if you do, you're kind of turned off by it because you've been force-fed this image of me for so long. Some people are turned off by it. Other people embrace it. Kind of like Alicia Keys. She kind of went with overnight, she just wiped it all off. Like, none of that. I don't need any makeup, no lipstick. I don't need to be all jazzed up. I'm going to go out here. I'm going to do my own face, my own healthcare, regimen, my own beauty regimen. And you're going to take me as I am, because this is what I feel is me. This is my authentic self. And at first people are like, oh, okay, she's just making a statement. But more and more you see she's just who she is. Women cutting their hair. It's been coming up for the last couple of months, and I've done my chop. And it wasn't, oh, I want to go team natural. It wasn't that, because I was naturally relaxed for a long time. It got to the point where my hair would no longer take relaxers. And my new growth would grow out within a week, 2 weeks. It looked like I hadn't even relaxed my hair with chemicals. So I just, one day during, I don't know, it was a real, I was almost outside of myself. And I was in the mirror and I just cut my ponytail, and then I cut it shorter, and I went and got some clippers, and I was going to shave the back, and I shaved it the wrong direction. So I had to go to the barbershop and sat in the car for 45 minutes. And finally, my daughter, she agreed I should just cut it all off. I cried in the barber's chair. I didn't want to go to the salon because women, they gossip. They want to know, what happened, girl? What's this about? They want to know your business. They want to talk too much. I just went to the men. They let me cry in peace. They didn't question anything. And it was more secure. And for the first time, I realized that my feminine self felt safe with the masculine energy. Because I've integrated my masculine and feminine as one within me, I felt secure enough to go ahead with that decision in the company of men. I didn't feel too vulnerable. I didn't feel like I was going to be taken advantage of or anything of that nature. I felt more I'd be more susceptible to judgment had I been in the feminine energy, exposing those feminine emotions, because they don't trust themselves to do so with others. There's still a guardedness, even amongst women, and this is something I can sense. So, but I just, with cutting my hair, it was a lot of emotional damage. Hair, skin, and nails is where I visibly see the emotional trauma portrayed in women when their hair starts to break off really badly, starts to thin. A lot of times it's emotional stress, and their nails get brittle, start to break, start to fray. Just a whole lot of, a slew of issues, even with skin, scars and different blemishes, and this is all, the skin is a very, very large organ. So rashes and different things like that, these are all emotional based issues that manifest on the skin itself to show you visibly, hey, there's something wrong. There's something wrong with me. Like, check me out. Like, figure out what the fuck going on. I'm trying to tell you outwardly what's happening to you inwardly. So this is why I'm a big stickler for my health, as far as my immune system, keeping it up. I want, my nails, I want to make sure that they're straight. I go to shake someone's hand, they see my nails. If they know what they're looking at, they know I'm unhealthy. If my nails are dry, brittle, breaking, fraying, cracked cuticles and all kinds of stuff. So, I'm just trying to better take care of myself from the inside out and have that portrayed to the world as well. That's what people are seeing now. And I will be doing videos shortly. But the way I read tarot is completely different. On this journey, it has changed so drastically and so frequently that reading for you all has become more and more difficult. Not difficult, I would say, is evolving so quickly that getting into a routine, routines are my thing when it comes to certain things. But something like the tarot, where life changes so quickly, and even with the planetary alignments and things of that nature, I start reading these cards, the messages start to evolve and they start to change, and the downloads come in and they alter certain meanings and certain ways that I perceive them. So I've been working closely with the tarot, with archangels. They've been coming through. Even a couple of fallen angels have revealed themselves to me, and they're a trip, but there's no fear there. It's just trying to gain understanding. So everything's happening so rapidly. I don't want to ignore my channel. I don't want to neglect those who I have linked up with on this outlet. And I want to let you know that I will be back soon with more information, but it's also building my spiritual discernment on what is allowed to be shared and what a high priestess is supposed to keep within herself. So wanting to educate others is fine on a particular level, but there are limits, there are boundaries, there are permissions, and I'm learning those slowly but surely. Having an excess of information and wanting to share it with so many, it also leaves our community, our consciousness, susceptible to those who play both sides, who can mask themselves to be a part of this love and light. They have an inner darkness that is innate, because for just as much good as there is, and just as much people of the light that there is equally those who are not of. You know what I mean? Just like there are archangels who have fallen, they use their free will to do as they please, whereas the archangels that serve the light have forfeited their will to be their free will. You understand? So it's kind of that thing that some people will choose to let the universe help guide them. Where there is a will, there's a way. But I surrender to the universal energy, and I surrender to what the universe has for me, which is more archangel like, versus those who say, well, this is what I want to do, no matter the consequence. I have free will. I get to choose. And sometimes those choices aren't always for everyone's highest good, but it creates balance nonetheless. And this was a lot. I know I've touched on a lot of different subjects, and I thank you for anyone who has bared with me through this message, but it was time. It was given, I was given the green light on this. 25 minutes in. Hope to talk to you soon, read for you soon. I'm sifting through some things as far as galactic matters, universal matters, this twin flame topic, and what it truly means. It's not actually on this level of existence, not on this plane, in the higher dimensions more so, but I think a lot of people are getting caught up with the physicality of a twin flame versus the connectedness soulfully, which transcends this realm. And that leads to a lot of confusion in the physical plane when you're longing for and missing and feeling like you're without. Once you marry your masculine and feminine energies within you, you'll better understand why I'm saying what I'm saying, and why it's not necessary to look for a physical manifestation of your twin. You are it. That masculine that you so seek is who you are to be, as well as that feminine that wants to trust and wants to be open and that is you. And I hope that for those who are looking for that twin flame, look in the mirror and see them. And stop thinking it's another, another physical being that's 6'6", tall, dark, and handsome. You forget that you are your perfect match. And that's why that's a big lesson to learn. And when it smacks you, But it's very, very 10 of Cups, ultimate fulfillment type of feeling. So I'm going to leave it at that. Finish painting my nails. And I will talk to you guys later. Thank you for listening.